Let's welcome in our guy Tom Murphy to the program this morning. Whole Hog Sports Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. He was kind of on double duty yesterday. I went to Ole Miss's practice and then hauled over to Arkansas and got a little glimpse. Tom, we'll start with Ole Miss. Just kind of the vibes you picked up talking with their starting pitcher Elliott, Bianco, and just kind of the what you felt from the Rebs yesterday.
Just a really confident team. They were at Creighton, and we talked to four different players. We talked to Chatinier and the catcher and T.J. McCants, and we talked to Elliott. And, they seem like pretty cool kids. I mean, down to earth, much like when you talk to an Arkansas kid. So the catcher, Hayden Dunhurst, and he was a great quote. He talked about how at Arkansas they were at, quote, an all-time low. And they knew that if they didn't start winning games after that, they weren't going to be in the postseason. So they have gone from the last team in the field to a team that if they win tonight, they'll be in the driver's seat in this side of the bracket. So they were just a confident team. And when Arkansas and Ole Miss play, the games have been tight. I think Dave Van Horn and Mike Bianco have great respect for each other and the way they run their programs, and so should be another classic tonight.
I want to ask you about Tim Elko, Ole Miss's first baseman, who is one of the best hitters, not just in the SEC, but in all of baseball. And if I remember correctly, he played last season with a partially torn ACL. Maybe that's another guy, but I would say, Tom, you correct me if I'm wrong, but he's one of the key, if not one of the biggest hitters you want to try to avoid getting off to a hot start tonight if you're either Mcintyre or why am I forgetting the other pitcher? They might throw the lefty.
Zach Morris.
But we'll see what happens. Yeah, Morris.
Yep. And you're right. It was Tim Elko who I can't remember what series it was during the year, but he did have an ACL, and he just played through it. And he's back this year. He's got 22 home runs. He's hitting over 300. He's the old man. Straw that stirs the drink. They have a deep lineup, just like Arkansas does. But Elko's, he's got a grown man beard, or at least he did earlier in the year. And, he's kind of their I don't know if Arkansas has a crusty veteran quite like him, but, he's their veteran guy.
Yeah. Let's talk about Will Mcintyre, who's, I think, likely the starter. Zach Morris could be the other. But let's talk about Mcintyre because his season is pretty interesting. He 7 starts. His 8th might come in the College World Series, and I would guess will come at some point, even if it's not tonight. 11 appearances on the year. Tom, this was the guy that, kind of like Ole Miss, last team to get in the field. This was the last guy to pitch. What made Will Mcintyre's wait so long before he finally got the chance to show what he could do for Dave Van Horn in this program?
Well, I did a story on him. I think it was, they had come back from Auburn, and in the clinching Game 3 they won. I think that was the game Mcintyre threw about 3 innings or, maybe even longer and held Auburn down. He just, he pitched a little bit. The COVID year, he pitched in that final series against Grand Canyon and had a great start. And then the next year, he wound up redshirting, and it was about a commitment and, being in shape and the way Matt Hobbs put it was there was a lot of guys ahead of him. And then this year, when he threw well. And I think sometime after a start against UAPB, he went into Matt Hobbs' office and just said, "Look, I don't think I'm getting a chance." And Hobbs, what he told me was, and sometimes the kids are right. And so he got the chance, and he's capitalized on it. I mean, he doesn't overpower you with his fastball. But Matt Jones of Old Hog talked to his dad after the North Carolina Super Regional, or it might have been after the Stillwater Regional, but talked to his dad, and, he did this in Legion Ball in Bryant, and he's called Big Game Mac just because he delivers. I mean, he's a strike thrower, and here we have him potentially starting the winner's bracket game. And, here's what I think. I think both McIntyre and Morris will pitch. And Morris is almost in the same boat. He wasn't pitching a whole lot earlier in the year, and he's got a 6.0 ERA, 6.0 record, and 1.89 ERA, and just gets it done. And so those two guys, I think when they both committed to pitching those two guys more regularly, that's what solidified the entire pitching staff. And honestly, the three starters at that point still hadn't quite rebounded, so that they had that little rough patch. And then now that Nolan's back throwing big time, McIntyre is just a huge key. And the thing is, Hagen Smith actually pitched a good game against Ole Miss in Game 2. He matched up against Elliott. And Wiggins was okay in Game 3. So there's some depth to Arkansas's pitching that really hasn't been tapped into yet in the College World Series.
Let's talk about the first baseman for a minute, Peyton Stovall. The freshman player battled some injuries in the middle of the year, has just been on fire as of late. We know the middle infield is great, and Robert Moore made a web gem the other night, but I think one thing that gets lost in all of this is Stovall's ability to stretch himself out, keep the foot on the bag, get the glove on the ball. He has 2 errors and is a co-leading fielder on the team with a fielding percentage of .995. Tom, I thought the other day what got lost in all those great plays from Battles and from Robert Moore was Stovall's ability to stretch himself out, to put his body in a position, to glove it and stay on the bag.
Yep, absolutely. I wrote about that on game night that, that Moore and Battles made outstanding plays in the field, but he did that. Stovall was really good there. I don't think he's naturally a first baseman. I think he might wind up somewhere else on the infield if Kendall Diggs is at first next year. But he's just a great athlete. And I think what happened, a lot of pressure early in the season. The first 9 games or so, he didn't play well or hit well. But since then, he's been down in the order. The pressure's off a little bit, and he's really caught fire. Just his confidence level is back. And I think he's hitting I did it in the paper today, 14 for 20 maybe in the NCAA tournament. Somewhere along those lines, but it was 500 going in, and then he went 2 for 6. So when you got that going in the 8-hole, and then if Jalen Battles is getting on base, that's why he scored 17 runs. Everybody in the lineup was hitting, and they're on a streak right now. And it's funny, this is the Arkansas team people thought they'd see most of the season, and the Ole Miss team that people thought. Ole Miss was picked to win. So they're finally, they're delivering. They're back in form, and they had to go through as a 2 and a 3 seed. But here they are, and whoever wins is big time in the driver's seat, awaiting the Stanford versus Auburn winner against this game's loser.
Tommy said it earlier in hour 1. You set yourself up so much if you're able to win this game, just because the additional game that your opponent will have to play, as you just laid out, Tom. Based on the feel that you felt from both teams yesterday, I think we're in for quite a game. Who do you think has the advantage with both teams being as hot as they are right now?
Ty, I don't think either team is at an advantage. It's who shows up, whose pitcher locates the best, who works counts better, who forces the other starting pitcher out. And I just can't say. Ole Miss is super, super hot. What they did at Miami, and then at Southern Miss, shut Southern Miss out. They didn't score. Just stunning. And they pitched it so well. The good thing for the Razorbacks, they don't face Dylan DeLucia, who had a good game against them, and Ole Miss won Game 1 in Fayetteville. But yeah, when you say it out loud, this is what you do. If you win tonight, then you have to win one more game to make the College World Series final. If you lose tonight, you have to win 3 more games.
Yeah, well,
it's a big deal.
Yeah, you've got to win this game, because I don't know about you, but the world I live in, if Mississippi State won it last year, which they did, and Ole Miss wins the national title this year, that's got to be like the 8th sign of the apocalypse. So we know the end is near. We've got to avoid the end of Earth by not letting the 2 Mississippi schools win back-to-back College World Series.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, too. And I think there would have been a little bit of heat on Mike Bianco had they not made a run. Had they not made the NCAA tournament, there's a chance could have been regime change there. I mean, this guy's a dean, of college of SEC coaches. So, they've been a team somewhat of unfulfilled promise. Arkansas has a much better track record of getting to the College World Series, but clearly neither team, has won it. So the team that wins tonight is going to be in the best position to have another shot at trying to win the whole enchilada. Although I have to say, Oklahoma on the other side is looking really sharp.
Yeah, and they beat a hot Notre Dame team last night, who we know went to Knoxville and dethroned the Tennessee Volunteers. So you mentioned the Oklahoma Sooners, Tom. What other games and what other players and just teams have kind of stood out to you at this point? Not just in Arkansas side, but just at the College World Series itself.
Yeah, well, the theme to this one so far is it's been blowouts. No game's been decided by less than 4 runs, which I think that was the final in OU last night, 6-2. So, their pitcher, their starter from last night, Carter. I can't think of his last name. Horton, Cade Horton. He was phenomenal. Man, his breaking pitch. They chased it out of the zone so often. He was just on fire. DeLucia's start against Auburn was unreal. No hitter through whatever, 4 or 5. And the fact that Ole Miss has been holding teams down. I mean, I think it's a pretty big shocker that Texas went 0-2. They were the favorite here. I think they've made a big deal out of it. But, Alex Williams, he went too far with what he said. I don't mind him saying that, our offense is better than yours. That, on paper, that was demonstrably true against Pac-12 competition. But then to say, then I think we've got him, he just, opened the door. And he sheepishly looked over at Coach Esker when he said that. And then when they left the room, the players left the room, Esker says, I think what he meant was he hopes that we've got a better hitting lineup than Arkansas. But
crawfishing.
The cat was out of the bag, man. And I'm the Razorbacks didn't play that up. Chris Lanzilli was asked about it. Connor Nolan was asked. And they're like, nah, we're just within ourselves right now. We're doing this for us. But they all knew. They wanted to pound Alex Williams, and they did.
Yeah, he was
Tom
certainly was a target. So.
Yep.
Tom, we'll leave it there this morning. Hey, real quick, remind me what did Mac's dad call him in travel ball? What was his nickname?
I think Big Game Mac. I believe that's the deal.
Big Game Mac. Okay. All right. Well, Big Game Mac, who could very well be on the bump tonight for the Hogs. We'll see what he has, if he can live up to that nickname. Tom, appreciate it. See you later on at the Schwab, okay?
Yeah, we'll see you there, man. Ty, have a good one. Hope you're in good shape, buddy.
We'll see.
We all hope, Tom. Thank you.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.